What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wildly Informed. Brett Marshall, Isha Jerome, back with you after a little bit of a hiatus for me from traveling and getting into the routine with a new puppy, but super excited to be back talking Minnesota Wild here at one of the best times of the year, the final 3 games of the season upon us. Lots to talk about on today's show. Before we get into everything, as we always do, got to check in with Isha. How's it going tonight, man?
Good, man. Good. No harm, no foul. I know how it is to be getting a new puppy, especially coming back from travels. And what a day to return to podcasting after that. What was supposed to be, easy work, taking out the AHL type team, San Jose Sharks by the Minnesota Wild. They got to have one, Vancouver Canucks style barn burner like we saw last year, right? They got to have one every year, and it was out west again, and goddamn, it was against the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot there to with an 8-7 final, where is the defense? But I think for a team that has for the past feels like 3-4 months has been playing really good defensively and hasn't gotten goals. I think one, getting Ek and Kaprizov back is a huge spark. They combined for 5 of the 8 goals between the two of them. Incredible. No one could have foreseen that. But I think just to
Oh, you were muted. There you go.
I think the team as itself. Good here. There we go. All right. Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Audio issues. Also waking up from vacation here. But I think the team as a whole, this is a team that knows they can defend. But I think to get those guys back, score a bunch of goals, whether or not it was against San Jose or not, I think that has to inspire some confidence. I think they know they can get back the defensive game. But now having that boost, especially in the power play, 3 power play goals last night, that first unit was buzzing every time they were out there. It is amazing the difference that those two make and just their presence. To now have basically what for 3 months was the second line of Johansson and Gaudreau, and Gustav Nyquist now be your third line, having Ryan Hartman on your fourth line. It's just, there's a lot of good, and I think excitement to come out of that game. Just to see Kaprizov work his edges, to see Joel Eriksson want to go battle in the front of the net. Those guys look ready.
Battling already.
Yeah, they don't look like guys that are 80% back. They look 100% back, and I think if you're Bill Guerin, you feel vindicated a little bit, right? Hey, I didn't make any moves at the deadline. I didn't put these guys in LTIR. I wanted to give them a runway, and this is the exact reason why. Kirill Kaprizov just came back and was, yep, I can score. Joel Eriksson came back, yep, I can score. And we're now a Jake Middleton return away from having a healthy lineup for the first time since I believe November 10th.
I was just gonna say Jake Middleton comes back. Yeah, I can score.
Yeah, him too.
I know.
But
no, it's been good. What else do we got coming up on the show? Obviously, a lot of Wild talk, but there's been a lot of NHL news that has come and gone since we last podcasted. Obviously, we're not going to go over everything, but we'll definitely highlight some of the big news topics that have occurred in the last few days.
Yeah, there's been a lot of prospect movement that we want to get to. They've been on kind of these last 5 games. And then for Puck Your Opinion, just a variety of things, including kind of who should that 12th forward be? Where does Zeev Buium fit into the mix? Who do you want to face in the first round? And a little bit of Calder Hart Trophy discussion as well. So a little bit of a mixed bag of everything. We'll kind of cover a bunch of stuff. So it should be a good show with some good variety here.
All right, well, let's dive into the hockey headlines.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest one here obviously happened a couple days ago. Alexander Ovechkin breaks Wayne Gretzky's regular season goal record. This 895th goal against the New York Islanders comes from his office. Sweet Selly. Only bummer it was on the road. You would have liked to, maybe see him do that at home and just see that building erupt. But just what an unbelievable season from a guy who is 39 years old to have 42 goals in 61 games.
Just what a bananas. Broken leg earlier this year.
Yeah,
or this season.
Just insane.
Like, honestly, looked the most out of shape in the offseason that we've ever seen from Alex Ovechkin. Like, even more out of shape post than in his post Stanley Cup celebration summer. And then the injury early on, no one thought the Capitals were going to do, and like the third caveat is no one thought the Capitals were going to do as well as they've done this year. So like you mix all those three things together, and it's like, holy crap, 42 goals already on this season, and broke Gretzky's regular season goal record. Like, what a year for the Capitals and for Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome story. I mean, we've had the pleasure of watching this guy, for as long as we have, and just like, regardless whether or not he eventually broke that record, like I think there are very few who would debate that he's the greatest goal scorer that the game has ever seen. The guy just knows where to go, where to score from. Oh my God. Western Michigan. Yeah, I have it on my third monitor here. Western Michigan just missed like their fourth wide open net again.
Sheesh.
Might have hit the post. Watching that one because I want to talk about Booyah, but a lot of my talk depends on what happens in this game. But not to get sidetracked totally here. But yeah, I mean, just like unbelievable goal scorer. Like, I mean, you can build a compilation of his highlights and just his ability to score on the one-timer from that left dot to make amazing plays. Like everyone knows the Ovi goal. Every youth hockey player was trying to stick around the head when he did that and stuff. So just, awesome to see. And, it's cool to witness history.
Oh, absolutely. And like just a hell of a player, like regardless, like he's still maybe today doesn't play like the same power forward that he used to, but like in his prime when he like was faster than everybody, man, like he would throw the body around like no other. He wouldn't get penalized a lot because he threw the body around right. And it's like people would taunt him and try to like, get him to fight, and he wouldn't fight. He'd just smile and then like lay the most nasty hit during a play, laugh at you, same play, get the puck and score. And it's just like that's Ovechkin, right? He does it all. He plays the game the right way, and he's one of the best of all time. And I know, like, relative dominance, people are saying, well, like, there's these guys who played in a tougher time. Okay, sure, but, like, look at the goalies in comparison. Like, could you imagine if you plop... Like, you plop Lemieux and Gretzky in this era, and they'll probably do the exact same thing as they did back then. But you plop Ovi in that era, he's doing the exact same thing, too, and maybe gets to this milestone even quicker. With freaking goalies running out of the net a few feet away from the circle, right?
Yeah, and like just the technicality of like the way rebound control and everything has improved. And here's the replay. Rolling puck. I think he hit the post. Oh my God.
Denau's exactly. Look at that. Great minds think alike, Denau. Great minds think alike. Yeah. Good to see you, by the way. No, it's totally it, right? And it's just, it was awesome to see. And like, I'm glad Ovi like won a cup now. Because all those like series with like the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Rangers where they got like so close. Like, man, I remember there was one, I want to say it was in like 2013 or maybe it was even like 2012. But there was a playoff run where like the Capitals went like 7 games, like triple overtime with the Rangers. And it was just like, man, like I always just wanted to see him get over the hump. And it was cool to finally see him get that milestone and then this one as well. So, I mean, I could swoon and talk about Ovi all day. I've seen him play live like a few times.
Yeah.
In Vancouver when I lived in Calgary, lucky enough to see him a couple weeks ago at the X as well. So definitely have been able to see him a lot. So like, yeah, I'm just excited. We might see one more. I think we're going to see one more year of him before he goes back to Russia. And talk about like the farewell tours that we've seen Marc-Andre Fleury have. Like, dude, next year with Ovi going to these final barns, like, oh my God, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, and I think for him too, it's just like, hey, you have the record now, and like I think for him to like not have to grip that stick tight. Next year, like the Capitals are not going to have the same expectation to be, the number one team in the league. So I think to your point, like him just being able to kind of enjoy that final season, like not have like just everything, he does now is house money, right?
Dude,
like,
watch them go down and make a playoff run this year. Could you imagine like he gets a cup this year as well? Like again,
that'd be crazy.
The Capitals are far from the favorites to win, but like they're a good team going in. They're, I watched them play. The Wild, in my opinion, played one of their best games to beat them. But it was a damn good hockey game. And like I got to see firsthand, like, oh my God, this team's actually dangerous. Dude, that Belarusian monster, by the way, didn't realize how big he was on that team. That young Belarusian that they have. Here, I'll find his.
Protas?
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah, he's
huge. And like also, you see it on paper, then you see it live, and it's like, oh my God, no wonder no one can like, dude, Spurgeon trying to fight him in the crease was hilarious. Like, I love you, Spurgeon, but like, my God, dude, this guy didn't move an inch.
Yeah. Also, I just realized the feed I was watching was actually the start of the game.
Oh, jeez.
But Western Michigan did just win.
Damn. Wow.
So
Wow.
more on that in a second. They deserve to win that game. But yeah, like sticking with the NHL before we get into a little bit about prospects, William. Anything else you want to add on Ovi?
No, as the season like draws to a close and we see how well the Capitals do in the playoffs, I'll probably have more because I'm definitely rooting for them now. Like, you know, Canucks are out of it. Yeah, I want to see the Wild do well, but like as far as like teams that like I actually have a big interest in, it's like let's fucking go Capitals. Let's get 2 cups, baby, because then we're closer to the argument that Ovechkin's better than Crosby. But anyways,
yeah, it's definitely I think a debate that will live on. Like it's just it's hard because they're 2 different types of players.
Hey, but with another cup. What, Crosby has 3, right?
Yeah, I think that's
so. If Ovi gets 2 and Gretzky's record, that argument is suddenly rekindled. It was seemingly put to rest a while ago, but it might be rekindled here at the end.
Yeah, there you go. For sure. Some other news from around the league. This one was kind of surprising to me. Anthony Duclair and the Islanders basically taking a break from each other, probably at this point for the rest of the season.
Are you surprised, though? And I say this with all due respect, but Anthony Duclair's like the streakiest on and off player that we've seen, like in a while.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just not often that you might see like, he's going to be healthy scratched or something. But like, this was Patrick Waugh had some pretty harsh words, like basically saying it's a lack of effort and all this stuff, and pretty much laid into him, and then he was like, yeah, I think it's best to take a break. So Islanders season kind of unraveled kind of underneath them throughout the season. I think they had Barzell's been injured for a good chunk of the season, which hasn't helped. But, always just notable. Like I've never I can't recall the last time I remember like player and I guess maybe JT Miller earlier this year, but like player and team being like, we're just going to take a break. Like it's just kind of a weird deal. But
especially when Miller was like dominating on the score sheet, it was just there's a lot of other stuff going on here. I mean, Patrick he's a hybrid because he's like a hard ass who's been doing well in modern junior hockey and in the NHL. I'm gonna say it's like I'm biased, so I can't stand Patrick Waugh. I fucking can't stand that guy. So as a coach or player, I've never. I respect his accolades and all that stuff, but like I am not a Patrick Waugh fan at all. So like I can imagine that like he rubs people the wrong way, especially those who are like they're like quote unquote working for him or like player coach relationship. But like I mean, just look at the stats here as well. Like no doubt when he's on and in an environment where he's comfortable and can play to his abilities and to his potential, Duclair's an awesome second. Third liner who can give you offense and a presence on the ice. I mean, I remember the Rangers, he looked really good in his first little run with the Rangers, obviously looked good in Arizona when like Max Domi was coming up there as well. And then it's like, then kind of fizzled out, was rejuvenated in Ottawa, looked good in Florida.
Yeah, looked really good
in San Jose.
He was a big part, I feel like, of their cup team. Like he was their kind of that secondary scoring for them for much of that season. And
then Tampa obviously looked great there, enough to sign a deal with the Islanders, and it just again fell off. So the Anthony Duclair story is an interesting one because like he's not old, he's only 29. He's been around for a little while now, but just like I don't know, just had a tough time staying. Like I don't know if he's reached his ceiling yet, probably has, but it's been tough for him to stay up there. It's kind of like he goes up and down, and I think he's a product of like needs to have everything around him go right for everything on the ice to go right.
Yeah, well, like, and you see like all that movement too, and then like he gets New York gives him a 4-year, $14 million contract, $3.5 million per year. Yeah. That started this year. This was year 1 of 4. So it'll be interesting just to kind of see how that plays out. I mean, not a super notable player, but always interesting stories to watch.
I think it was like he was a late, like he wasn't like a first rounder if I can recall. He was like a more, I think like second or third. I just had it up, I closed it. But he was later in the draft, and New York kind of found a gem, and then they obviously made the trade to Arizona. But I think he'll bounce back.
80th overall.
Yeah, so there you go, right?
Third rounder, yeah.
But I remember when he was with Max Domi in Arizona, I was like, okay, they got two young guys they continue to build around, but it never really panned out.
Yeah, for sure. Some other kind of big news. There's been a lot of like pretty high end prospects that have joined their teams as of late. Some of the notable ones, Calgary added Zane. I believe it's Perrick is how you say it. So probably one of the defensemen that the Wild maybe would have looked at had they not had William. I think did he go was it the pick before William, or like 2 picks before, I think, right in
He
that
was
range.
ninth. Yeah, 2 picks.
Yeah.
Dude, he's
right
so sick.
right in that range. He's a offensive threat, and like I think the big story here is
and he's
Calgary,
big though. He's he's 6 foot, like 190 pounds.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like the Flames plan to play him, which is like I think they're like the second lowest scoring team in the league this year.
I think because they're doing okay, and they're like, we just don't want to.
Well, they're not in the playoffs though, and you need to score goals, and like you have. Like, I think someone tweeted out last night, their third pair defenseman played like 10-10 and like 8-49 or something.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, then why sign him? Like, good, let's get him around the team. I don't know. I don't understand when teams do this, and we could see the Wild do this with William too. I don't know.
Well, you know what, bro? I'll counter and just say, like, maybe this is what he wanted. Even obviously he wants to play, but like maybe if they like continue to serve him the red carpet, maybe the Calgary Flames want him to stay there or come back in the summer and like just be around the facility and everything. And like, look, let's get him in early, show that like, again, I think it's a little weird that they're not getting him in games too, but like maybe they just want that relationship to start now so that like come next year in training camp, he's already like knows the facility, knows the city, comfortable around like teammates that he knows is going to be around. And maybe even like lives like Calgary's not a bad place to spend your summer, I will say. I would say better than fucking Markham, Ontario. I'm not gonna lie. So maybe that's why. Look again, getting him on the ice. I don't think it's gonna tarnish the relationship right now. They're paying him. He's getting his first big boy paycheck here, or at least coming out.
Like I don't know that the players necessarily like upset, disappointed. I just think it's more of like from a management standpoint, like, hey, a team that's starved for offense, like, why not bring a very talented offensive defense into the mix? Like, even for 1 or 2 games, just see what he can do.
How many more games do the Flames have? 3? 4? I'd say they probably give him at least 1. I will say that they end up giving him 2.
Well, a lot of it will depend on what happens against the Wild, I think, on Friday, because if the Wild win that game, Calgary's eliminated. So then he might get some games after that. But a couple other big names. I think one of the biggest ones, Ivan Demidov, released from SKA, and I believe right now is en route to Montreal. I think he's
dude, Montreal, like social media coming out of TSN, Sportsnet, and just like everywhere.
Yeah, they were like tracking his flight. Like I'm excited for Canadiens fans. Like, that is a unbelievably passionate fan base, and I have a lot.
They've had a great season. Martin St. Louis, man.
Yeah, and like, I think we'll talk a little bit about Lane Hudson in the Puck Your Opinion section later in the show. But like, I've always have a lot of respect for the way that they respect other teams' records. Like, obviously they've been really great to people like Marc-Andre Fleury, but so it's cool. And like, we kind of know this feeling, when we were waiting for Kaprizov, and we finally got word he was coming over. Their wait, obviously not as long. He was drafted, last year, but a special prospect. And I think his like performance bonus is if he wins the Conn Smythe or something, he gets an extra like $500K, which is. But I think it's something they have to do, and they like try to make these like goals basically unattainable. But yeah, I mean, unbelievable in the KHL this year. 49 points in 65 games as a 19-year-old, which might be one of, if not the best, sub 20-year-old seasons in the KHL. Like, this guy is special. So it'll be really cool to see what kind of impact he can make for the Canadiens, who are, looking like a team that, can't be looked over come playoff time.
No, they're deep. Talk about a team like offensively. Like, they're deep offensively. They're fast. I mean, even like Newhook didn't have a good year, but like he's looked okay towards the end of the season. If he pops up in the playoffs, I mean, he's had playoff experience, only 7 games, but still like got that ring with the Avs upon coming over. Or actually played 12 games, sorry. Still got that ring and had a good like full rookie season with them. So,
their oldest player is only 32. Am I reading that right? Gallagher?
And it's Gallagher, yeah. But he seem like he's like 36 since he's been there for so long. Yeah, he's been a staple since 2013.
I also feel like Christian Dvorak being 28 also feels like a lie. I feel like that guy's been around for like 20 years.
Dude, Dvorak's the guy where I'm like, next year he's gonna pop. Now he's 28. I'm like, fuck. Yeah. Matheson. I mean, they got a good team, man. They got a good team.
And like, I think
this
for that
Savage, friggin', I forgot how you say his last name, but
Jack Eye, I think.
Jack Eye.
Yeah.
It's like Brady Shea.
he's kind of a psychopath, but
yeah. But I've heard this series like reeled it in a little bit, and they're like proud of like he's actually playing defense.
Yeah,
and
which
that
is
he
good.
actually
Like,
got like second line minutes most of the year, which is something they thought he'd be like in and out of the lineup. So
right, and we talked about that with guys like Hartman too, right? Like why these guys that tend to lose their heads, like, hey, just keep your head and play. Like you're good when you're in the lineup and not in the penalty box, right? So two other pretty notable ones before we get into ones that hit home a little bit closer. Gabe Perreault joined the Rangers. We believe he suited up against the Wild. Obviously, that one notable. A lot of us wanted Gabe Perreault over Charlie Stramel. And then Ryan Leonard joined the Capitals, I think.
Perfect timing, right? To go and party with the boys.
Like, what a week. Like, his season ended.
Make a dance.
Yeah, like his season ends. He gets to go to Boston, gets like invited out to the bar with like Ovi, and then gets to be like part of a goal record. Like what a week.
Yeah.
And now I believe we'll probably be flying into St. Louis tomorrow for the Hobie Baker Award. He won the 3 finalists along with Bouillon and who was the other one? I cannot remember off the top of my head. Oh, well. Bouillon was the only one I really care about anyway. And then the ones that are a little bit closer to home, the Gophers lost a whole slew of players.
Yeah.
Oliver Moore and Sam Renzel to the Blackhawks, Jimmy Snuggerud to St. Louis. And then I don't think it's official yet, but it sounds like Matthew Wood is likely, if not, maybe not.
I think Nashville posted about it.
Is he officially? Okay, I couldn't remember if it's official enough. Matthew Wood to Nashville.
That one surprised me the most. I would say in order, wasn't surprised Moore was leaving. I know some Gopher fans were. I wasn't. I wasn't surprised Moore was leaving. Wasn't surprised Snuggs obviously was gone.
Yeah, Snugger was like the one obvious one.
Renzel, I was kind of indifferent. I was like, it really could go either way. Wood, I did not think was going to leave. Now, I know Wood's been playing college hockey for a while because he came in a year early. Because I think he fast tracked his senior year of high school when he was playing junior A and then came into college a year early. Having said that, I thought that there was still a little bit of room. Not even and this is no disrespect to Matthew Wood, his skill's awesome and clearly an NHL team thinks he's ready because they signed him. I just thought that maybe a year of being the man, being in the Snuggerud position, the Moore position, even though I know he played quite a bit with Moore this year, but being one of the guys now that these big dogs are gone would have been really good for him. Just if you have that opportunity to develop for a program like the Gophers, take it. But again, money talks, and it's going to be interesting to see how Nashville moves forward developing him, given that maybe Nashville bounces back last year and isn't just an absolute tire fire that we saw them this year. So it'll be interesting to see if they're still bad, he probably will get games next year. If they're good again, then let's see if maybe both of them rethink this decision.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, I think there's a common theme there. A lot of those guys all playing college hockey. I think just cool to continue to see the impact that college hockey making as almost a development league at this point, right?
Well, and dude, now with the doors wide open for dub guys to go to college, holy shit, that's the thing. The Gophers might be, because you got to imagine the fans and even some of the teams okay, we were prepared for this just in case, but there might be some openings now through transfers that we didn't, not through the college transfer portal, but straight up guys who want to leave the dub, and it's oh damn, we could really bolster our lineup here.
Yeah, well, I've heard rumblings that there's rumors that Gavin McKenna and Michigan have been in talks, which would be it's either Michigan or Michigan State.
Well, let's be honest, he can't do any. He can't prove himself more in in the CHL. I was hoping that he would go pro for a year, go out to Europe or something like that. Find a team out there with kind of when Mark Crawford was in that coaching the team that Matthews went and played. Austin Matthews went and played with, and so he got a hard ass a former NHL coach on a team full of men, did pretty good. The stats weren't anything out of this world, but good for, what was it, a 17, 18-year-old at the time. Came back and just torched the NHL. I thought that maybe Gavin McKenna might go and do that. But hey, if there's a chance for him to go play in Michigan, I'm sure 1 year with the boys and be he might put up freaking Eichel numbers. He might put up 80 points in college, which would be insane. And and he's a rough player. He's been suspended this year.
Yeah.
He had a pretty nasty slash. I don't know if you saw that a few weeks ago. So
I think I did, yeah. And then since he's come back from that, he's just been an absolute tear.
Yeah. And it's just so cool to see him come from freaking the Yukon, man. He comes from the territories. Not just a populated province, straight up one of the territories in Canada. So it's just cool to see.
Yeah, definitely be a fun player to watch the next couple of years. Moving off prospect news, pretty big news for Canada. This doesn't really impact the U.S. at all, but NHL and Rogers, who owns Sportsnet, reached a huge 12-year media rights deal for TV across or hockey across Canada on TV, like pretty much exclusive to Sportsnet. So
yeah, I'm one of the oldies, Brett, who like TSN's coverage of hockey is just better. It always has been. I don't care if they have Bob McKenzie's son at Sportsnet, who's basically Bobby 2.0. I don't care if they have Elliot. It's just, I don't care if they have BX and like they got some good guys right now, but put it this way, Brett, when TSN was at its peak, because I grew up watching it all, when TSN was at its peak, Sportsnet, it was awful. They tried to rebrand to like a bunch of younger, like hip, good-looking people who, in their own right, I'm sure they did great work to get that level. Because I knew a few of them just like working in radio and interviewing them at times. Sure. But like it wasn't the same. You could tell that they were pushing towards like, we want to bring young people watching this versus just sports fans in general. They've definitely gotten better bringing in like the likes of BX and David Amber in a long-term contract and stuff like that. But like the way that even like TSN covers like the juniors, draft day, trade deadline, and then other smaller sport leagues that they like make it seem like it's NFL coverage, like with the NLL and like the CFL. They just, I don't know. It just seems like they have a lot more heart and passion to their broadcast, and it just reminds me of like it's Sportsnet. It's Sports Center. It has that ESPN vibe, similar like music and everything. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I was born in the 90s and I'm just like getting a little older now, but like I've always loved if you go TSN versus Sportsnet, I've always liked TSN. Having said that, Bell Media is just as evil as Rogers, so it's like they're both evil corporations.
Yeah, and like I think like I don't follow like a ton of Canadian hockey fans. Like I have a mix here and there that come across my feed, and I think that it seemed like kind of like a 50-50-ish split. And then people are like, yeah, this is fine. I was like, I'd rather have TSN, but like for them, there's kind of it's one or the other really up there.
I will never forgive Sportsnet for this, Brett. So TSN used to have the CHL rights. And they actually they would broadcast a ton of their games on TSN, like 1, 2, 3, 4, on all of them. So in like league wide, WH, big games in the dub, big games in the OHL, big games in the Q, rivalry games, ton of access, all that stuff. And then so Sportsnet outbid them after they got the NHL rights, and basically like made it known that we're never gonna broadcast. Or sorry, my mic's going out. 1 sec. Need new mic cord. They made it known that like we literally got it to spite TSN, and we have no plans to broadcast as much as they did. We'll maybe do a few selected games here and like the last, like the Memorial Cup game, and that's it. And that when that was revealed, I was like, dude, fuck Sportsnet, man, because I care about junior hockey more than NHL coverage. So that sucked.
Yeah. On the US side, I think the current contract still is like 2 or 3 more years, but I know like the league hasn't been, I don't think, thrilled with TNT and ESPN, and like numbers wise, obviously there was some big impacts from like the Four Nations and stuff like that, and we'll see how the playoffs go. But yeah, always interesting to see like the TV deals, because that stuff usually does have a pretty big impact on revenue for the league, which can affect salary cap and all that jazz. So moving on to the Wild news, we'll start here a little bit on the playoff picture for the Wild. So big night for them last night as they hold on, win, and then both, I believe, St. Louis and Calgary lost last night, which has the Wild in a pretty comfortable spot now. They're in the wild card 1 with 93 points, tied with St. Louis with a game in hand, and they have the tiebreaker, I believe, because I believe it's regulation wins, which Minnesota, I believe, has 2 more than St. Louis right now. So they could still, in theory, lose that tie. Well, I don't even know what it goes to after that if they both end up with like 33. But they're in a pretty comfortable spot. St. Louis, obviously, on a tear right now. They've won 12 of their last 14.
Insane.
Which is crazy. Their remaining schedule, they play Seattle and then Utah in their final 2. Calgary's the one I'm not necessarily like worried about, but the one that the Wild kind of control their destiny with. So they are 4 points back, have a game in hand, but their next game is against the Wild. And as I think we mentioned at the top of the show, if the Wild win that game in any fashion, whether it's regulation, overtime, shootout, they do eliminate Calgary, and basically it comes down to the Wild finish as the wild card 1 or the wild card 2. We'll have a discussion about that later in the show. But, not exactly what I'd like to be this time of year. But I've maintained, I said, if this team was healthy, they'd be about a 96 to 98 point team. And if they win their last 3 games, they will finish with 99 points. So I feel really good about what I thought this team was.
Imagine if they were healthy. They would have absolutely run this division.
Yeah. Like, I think LaPanta had some stats about when Kaprizov and Eriksson are both in the lineup. I don't know if it was just this year, but they're like 18-7-2 or something crazy. So, but I think, like, the Wild, a lot of their games recently, like if you look, like, they had some losses lately, but they've gotten overtime a bunch. They've banked some really key points, and that's been enough kind of to separate them from Calgary. And now they control their destiny to get into the playoffs with a win tomorrow night against Calgary.
Hell yeah. By the way, good to see Tegrity, Blink, and Sean in the chat here.
Yeah, welcome, guys.
You say, Zeev, what a bum. More like Zeev, buoy bum. Am I right? What a loser.
Speaking of Zeev Buoy, as we mentioned,
let's talk about this loser.
Yeah, he is a finalist for the Hobie Baker Award, along with, I need to look up who else it is. It's Ryan Leonard and Isaac Howard was the other one. At Michigan State, who I believe actually was one of the surprise going back to college announcements. Could have joined Tampa Bay, but going back to Michigan State next year. So obviously, same case with Charlie Stramel as well, going to return for his final season as well. So they're getting a lot of their firepower back. But Buoy, as we mentioned, they lost tonight against Western Michigan in double overtime. Buoy, another pretty big game. Started the rush on the tying goal tonight. Had some nice defensive plays. Like, obviously a Hobie Baker finalist for a reason. We were really excited for him. It sounds like, all intents is that the Wild intend to sign him to potentially play games this season. I think it's now a matter of, now that they're eliminated, it's going to be when does that debut come, if at all. I think,
and how fast he gets here.
Right. And like I said, with the award ceremony for the Hobie Baker tomorrow, I doubt we see him in Calgary. I think it's a pretty much a 0% chance that he'll be in Calgary. Could he be around?
Could you imagine though if he's just like, fuck the award ceremony, like, I'm going to Calgary? That would be so badass. Yeah. That would be so badass, and the fans would instantly be like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. And then, the other thing I wonder about with, the game Saturday in Vancouver, obviously there's time there, but now you probably have to get a work visa, and the Wild have to get all that stuff straightened out. And do you have enough time to get him over there, get him for a morning skate and stuff? So I would like to see him before then, but I doubt we do. But I would say, Wild should have a pretty good idea. I doubt the game versus Anaheim, the last one of the season, is a make it or break it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see him maybe at least skate in that game. And we'll talk a little bit toward the end of the show again on whether or not he should play in the playoffs or not. So we'll table that discussion for later. But pretty exciting times now as the Wild's arguably their most exciting prospect currently in the system, about ready to sign with the team and potentially be a part of this playoff push.
I don't know, man. I mean, actually, you're right. Yurov is almost ready to sign with the team.
Yeah, and there was a report. Is it? What is the guy's account?
We always forget his name. We've done this before.
I know, he's great, but the guy who does all the KHL stuff on Twitter reported.
He said that like basically he's just waiting for the time for his contract to expire, and he's going to sign. And hell yeah.
Yeah, and I believe Russo reported this week that the Wild don't have the cap to sign him for this season, but it sounds like all intents and purposes is he will be potentially here, for whether it's for the summer, training and whatnot, being around facilities, might not be bad to get him over here with Kaprizov, start, finding a place to live, getting around the facilities, those types of things. So it sounds like he will be, doesn't sound like he's at risk to going back to the KHL next year is the long story short.
Well, and then, maybe he can come and Ogren can show him around the city, because Ogren's going to need a new Russian young best friend now that Kuznetsov is gone. He's going to need a new fishing buddy. That's right. I watched Becoming Wild the day before he was traded. Sad. Anyways, all right, let's just jump right into the analytics agenda right now, Brett, since I don't have an intro video set up.
All right. Well, originally I was going to talk about the Foligno, Boldy, Rossi line when we were going to do the show on Tuesday, but that line has been broken up, and after the offensive explosion that we saw last night, I doubt we'll be going back. But I decided instead to look at Foligno and Boldy together. So this is a combination that we really haven't seen this season. We've talked extensively on this show about how valuable Marcus Foligno has been to this team defensively, but now we're seeing him kind of in this elevated offensive role, and we're seeing that impact positively the offensive players around him. So last 5 games, so that was 4 games with Rossi between them, and then also last night with Ek in between them. With these two on the ice at 5-on-5, well, outscoring opponents 6-5, getting a little bit of shoddy goaltending. I think, you look at the underlying numbers beyond that, is 64.9% expected goal share, is 60% Corsi share, plus 13 on shot differential, 39-26. Out chancing on the high danger side, 15-10 for a +5 there. And then in the last 5 games, Foligno nearly a point per game, a goal, 3 assists, 18 hits. And Matt Boldy suddenly finding the offense, 2 goals, 7 assists in the last 5 games. He has 7 points in his last 2 games, and 16 shots on goal in that stretch as well. So over 3 shots per game. And I think
looked so good this year, man.
Yeah, I think clearly looks healthy, and you kind of look at why does a guy like this fit? Why did it work so with Rossi and Boldy? And I think it was when it's Ben Zuccarello, obviously you have 3 offensive creative guys, but it's a lot of passing, right? They're trying to make the prettiest play, where Foligno is a north-south guy. He's going to get in on the forecheck, and he helps to create space, right? So he's freeing up the opportunity for, at the time was freeing up Rossi and Boldy maybe to get a little more creative, giving them a little bit more time. We've seen Boldy make some really nice plays off the wall, and that's a large due in part because you've had that net front presence from Marcus Foligno. You've had the defensive responsibility of being able to help get out of the zone on the breakouts. And I think, and then we saw last night, obviously that Ek Boldy Foligno line was phenomenal. And I don't see any chance that they bump Foligno down anytime soon. He's been, the defense has been there all season, and now we're seeing some glimpses of offense. And with this team healthy and him playing arguably probably right now his best hockey of the season, really cool to see. I mean, just a guy that, I don't think we would have, beginning of the year, no one would have predicted, I think, game 1 of the playoffs that Marcus Foligno would be in your top 6, but
and healthy.
I'm not. Yeah.
Healthy on momentum swinging, no, it's good. It's all the pieces are coming together here right as we hoped for. Knock on wood, Brad. I mean, what did you say? I saw a tweet. Which game did you, is a tweet talking about highlighting the day, the last day in which the Wild played a game fully healthy?
November 10th, I believe, was the last time.
That's crazy, man.
That was self-done research, so I don't know if that's 100% true, but I did this big injury breakdown a couple weeks ago on my Twitter feed, and I believe that was the last time. I think I just did it based off my PCS. I have a season-long log, and I think that was the time where one of Moose's biggest fans right there. What's up, Harvey?
I love this comment by her before we get to Puck your opinions. He's if I had 2 nickels every time a college prospect came up for the playoffs with the Wild, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird when it happens twice, especially with 2 defensemen.
Right.
Same position, too.
Yes. And I think the biggest difference there, obviously, I think Faber was 21. I don't even think Williams 20 yet. I think he's still 19. But anyway, so yeah, I'm really excited to see kind of how Foligno and Boldy can continue to build in this now, especially with Ek back in the mix. We saw last night, this team once again has 2 lines that can threaten to score. And, now teams have to decide, hey, do we want to slow down Kaprizov and Zuccarello, or do we want to slow down Ek, Boldy, and Foligno? You have to pick. And I think, we haven't had that for a while. It's been refreshing. So
Hartman and Goudreau down the lineup too. That's a pesky freaking line to play. It's actually a quick and pesky line to play against as well. So no, like I said, things are starting to look good going into the playoffs here. Even though, I mean, look, the division is tough anyways. You're going to play one of the big dogs regardless, and there's no easy matchups in the playoffs in this division. So
it's the playoffs in general. You got to win.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't matter who it is. You look down the lineup of potential matchups of the Wild, they're all going to be tough, but they all could make for a really exciting series. So I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. I have some opinions.
All right, well, let's get to our final segment of the show, Puck Your Opinions.
I just want to say, Puck Your Opinion.
All right, Brett, you're full of opinions. Where are we going?
Yeah, so I have a couple. The one thing I was really curious about was kind of what the 4th line was going to look like.
Oh, this first one, I know exactly where it came from, too. And then my gloves are off as well.
So, yeah, I think I've been pretty vocal with, and I think you and I have talked and we agreed, we love the Vinny Hinostroza pickup. I thought he's looked very good. Has the offensive production necessarily been there? No, but
no glaring mistakes out there where it's you're a good plug and play player, and hopefully some of that offense will come and you'll go on a little bit of a streak.
Yeah, and I think we talked to like the chemistry matters, like obviously really good chemistry with Ryan Hartman. So I was a little surprised last night when he drew into the lineup over Justin Brezzo, who I wanted to give it some time to play out. Like I gave him the benefit of the doubt, bad travel schedule. You know, he did some stuff in Boston, but like I'm just at that point where I'm like, yeah, this guy just kind of is a body. And like
I was just gonna say, just notice, like not noticeable out there in any impactful way.
Yeah, and like he's had like a couple bad plays here and there. Brazo has like I don't think he's been necessarily like bad by any means, but you know,
he's been like Shore and Gauntz who've come up. They haven't done much. They're there filling in the position, getting the minutes on that particular line until the second and first line can come back out.
Yeah, and if you look, like obviously I have my PCS metric. Vinny Hinostroza's average 0.97 per game in the 24 that he's been here. That ranks only behind Kaprizov, Ek, Boldy, Rossi, Zuccarello, and Foligno. And
there's been chances. Like there's been noticeable rushes. Yeah. He's quick. Like yeah, I know. I've personally liked Hinostroza's play as far as the depth guys that the Wild have brought in more than Brazo.
Yeah, and I think I put Trennan on the outline. I meant to put Brazo. Yeah. There's no way that Trennan's sitting in the press box with the money that they're paying him. But like I just like I don't think this is permanent. Like I would imagine like the leash is short for a guy like Brazo. It might even be short for Trennan at this point. But you know, I think it's a good thing to have. Or like, hey, if you know maybe in game one we get bullied around a little bit, now it's Brazo and Trennan. Or if we got a little bit of a track meet and we want the speed back in there, and now we put in Vinny Hinostroza, right? So I think he's an ideal 13th forward to have because again, someone goes down in the forward group, you can plug him in at any line. We talked
absolutely, and maybe he shines he shines under that playoff, you know, lights and style of game as well. The fact that people were like a little shocked is what blew my mind. I was like, dude, Hinostroza's been better, like fine and better. I don't understand. Like down the stretch, we need points. Why would you take him out? It's like. It's because he hasn't done anything. That's why.
Yeah. It's like I don't think it's like a glaring mistake. It's just if it were up to me, I would have him in there over Brazo personally. By comparison, again, Vinny Hinostroza 0.97 average PCS across 24 games. Brazo and his 17 negative 0.21, which is only ahead of Merrill, Gauntz, and Travis Boyd. So that's worse than Huzadinov, who was at 0.11, worse than Shore. So it is what it is. But just wanted to get my thoughts out there on that.
Yeah, I'm in agreement on everything there.
Yeah. So next one here, as I mentioned, we would come back to the Ziv Buium. Where does he fit? Should he fit into this lineup for game one of the playoffs? I think yes.
I think he's an upgrade over what Merrill can bring. I think he's a completely different player than Bogosian. Like obviously, you rank him obviously better, and I do, but like night and day style of defensive players. And Chisholm's kind of a little bit of both. Like Chisholm can play, you know what I mean? Definitely more of a puck mover, but like not completely out to lunch when it comes to the defensive side as well.
Yeah, and like obviously like Chisholm has had like I think he's played really well. Like his underlying metrics playing alongside Spurgeon have been great. I think since March 1st, he has something like a 64% on ice expected goal share.
Yeah, I've really liked his year, and I also I've liked Merrill's overall. Merrill hasn't had a bad season, right?
It hasn't been as glaring, but I think
it hasn't been like in years past where it's just like that's all that is all Minnesota Wild hockey fans can agree on is bitching.
There's been good games. There's been more good than like glaringly horrible. But to me, like the way I tier it is like he's not going to play over Bogosian simply for the left shot, right shot difference. Like Bogosian's going to play the right side. He's going to be the number 5. So it comes down to if you get Middleton back, you're looking between Buium, Merrill, Chisholm. I think he's a for sure upgrade over Merrill. And I think like him and Chisholm to me are probably pretty similar. Like they're going to maybe make some mistakes defensively, but they're like, to your point, they're going to be puck movers. To me, I think where he really helps is your power play. Obviously, we saw PP1 with 5 forwards. Last night, I think someone mentioned in the comments beginning of the show, they love the 5 forward look, which I don't disagree with. But hey, if you're looking for a boost to PP2 or, you know, adding a little more balance, what have you, like I think he can help you there. I don't think Merrill and Chisholm aren't playing a ton on the penalty kill. That's mostly been Brodin, Spurgeon, Faber, and Middleton, I think, at this point. You know, I think he should be in the lineup. Whether or not he will get in there, I don't know. Like this team has a lot of trust for whatever reason in a guy like John Merrill and just his veteran presence. But I hope that we see more of them than less of them in the playoffs, but yet to be seen.
Yeah, Yurchek, I mean, he's had an up and down, not from like a skill perspective, but like he just had an up and down year given a lot of changes, literally up and down.
Done for the season. With
and he's like he's hurt as well.
But
like I would say even if he was healthy, I would say that like he's just not ready. Yeah. Like they're gonna lean on Zeev with the momentum. Then Yurchek. I think Yurchek will be a Minnesota Wild. I really do.
For sure. I think
they're gonna try to find a spot for him.
I think Bogosian's the 7 next year.
Yeah, and he's still so young, top pick, that like they're going to develop the defenseman right, and they've been lucky that they haven't had to with a Faber or knock on wood, a Zeev coming in, right?
Yeah, for sure. So that's my thoughts on that. 3 more to get to here. This is an interesting one. Actually, I put a poll out on Twitter too. Let's see. About who fans would rather play in the first round. As of right now, the 2 most likely would be Vegas or Winnipeg.
And Mr. Blackjack commented earlier, said, if healthy, Vegas, easy.
Yeah, so like I have some thoughts here. I'm curious on yours. The overwhelming majority prefers Vegas, 66%. Winnipeg was 34%, 608 votes on that. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think we'd start with your thoughts here. I've been mulling this over because when I put the poll up, I wasn't even sure where I stood. Like I've been thinking a lot about it, and I'm curious to kind of hear.
I want to see. I would say Vegas too. I think like Winnipeg is the one that's going to be the toughest. I think especially if Hellebuck shows up, it's tough. They're just playing like that Winnipeg brand that we're used to as well. I think. They surprised everyone but me this year, but I can't tap myself on the back too much because I thought Nashville would be a lot better this year too. But I totally thought that Winnipeg would fill the holes that they needed to this year, and a lot of it was internal, and oh boy, have they had a great year. Dallas obviously plays a tough speed and skilled game as well. I would say Dallas maybe like from matching their scoring perspective is probably a little bit more daunting than Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg will be the harder series overall. And I think, Vegas at number 3 would probably ideally that's the matchup that's the most winnable. And again, none of these are easy, but quote unquote easier. Winnipeg avoid at all costs. Dallas, well, if you got to settle for that, they beat them and looked good against them in the regular season. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I gave it a lot of thought, and you never want to be staring Connor Hellebuck in the face, but this is a guy who Winnipeg's been bounced in 5 games each of the last 2 seasons, and this is a guy who's gone 1-4 in both of those, an 886 save percentage and 22-23, 864 last year. But so that's like Connor Hellebuck hasn't great in the playoffs, but he could be an MVP candidate this year. Right. I think, and so that to me was kind of a wash. The Wild also have not played Winnipeg healthy this year. And I think every time they've played them, it's been on the second of a back-to-back. Right. So we don't really know realistically how the Wild match up against Winnipeg. So that's tough. They've played okay against Vegas, even with down some guys. I think for me, I ultimately end up leaning Vegas because I think either one of those 2 teams is going to be really tough out in the first round, no matter what. It's 2 very good teams, right? They're the top 2 teams in the Western Conference for a reason. But I think for me, it's if you can get through that first round, I would rather play through the Pacific Division than have to go through the winner of Colorado and Dallas. I have much more confidence in going through Edmonton and LA. So that's kind
Edmonton
of where
still
I
doesn't have a goalie, dude. Edmonton still doesn't have a goalie, and if Connor if their offensemen can't carry them in goals, let's be honest, they did most of the playoffs last year. Then, and I don't think they will, to be honest. For me, it was more fluky that Edmonton got to where they were than people think. Their defense helped them freaking score, man. Overall, their defense and goaltending was not good, and they were in way too many high scoring playoff games for my liking. And they leaned on the big guns till the very end. Freaking 4-minute shift, broken ribs. They didn't care. They were still going.
Right. So, yeah, and I think, it's not guaranteed to be one of those 2 teams. There's still some things that could happen, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out.
But from a I'll say this, from not as a hardcore of a Wild fan as you guys are, from just a straight hockey fan perspective, fucking Winnipeg Wild series would be electric.
Oh, it would be really
it would
fun,
be so electric. And the Canadians would, well, and let's just be honest, with some of the tensions between both countries, holy shit, man. Those like those intro ceremonies would be something wild. And I think that's going to be a case around the NHL this year, but given that these teams kind of already have a little bit of a rivalry, right? Not that far from each other. Same type of people, freaking plaid wearing fishermen, essentially. And crazy hockey fans. Again, I just think it'd be electric. But path to victory, no.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's going to be a tough out no matter what. And you know what we've known from the Wild history going back the last 10 years is that the first round opponent doesn't seem to matter. But you know, maybe could this year be different? I don't know. Speaking of Hellebuck, though, that we had this as one of our second to last topics here. Do you think he should be a serious Hart contender? I think he should.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think there's just this notion that it can't be a goalie, but like the guy has been too good for too long. And like they've had some guys having good years. I think Kyle Connor's having a big year. They're getting, you know, a lot from who's their guy in the blue line there? Blanking. Morrissey, right? Josh Morrissey?
Yep.
Yeah, he's been good. Shifley, obviously, but like Hellebuck is the reason they're sitting where they're sitting. Like it is him and him alone. He's been miles better than any other goalie in the league. And I think like this notion that MVPs can't be goalies because the Vezina exists, like, no, give him both. Like if he's earned it, give him both.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
And then final one here, we teased this one earlier on in the show as well. The Calder Trophy. Like I think this is one that'll be interesting too, coming down to the wire here. Obviously, this one came a little fresh because we saw Macklin Celebrini put up a hat trick and 2 assists for a 5-point night last night against the Wild. I think he's been awesome, but Lane Hutson is over 60 points as a defenseman. Matvei Michkov has had a really good year for Philadelphia. And then Dustin Wolf is kind of single-handedly keeping Calgary's playoff hopes alive. As I mentioned, like second lowest scoring team in the league, and they still have a chance to make the playoffs because of the year that he's had. It hasn't been like as good, I think, the second half of the year, but I think still deserves to be in that conversation.
Yeah, what I love about this is like this crop of finalists are all like legit. Like it's cool to see like there's so many young guys coming in, but for me like you got to give it to Celebrini. Like he already looks like a superstar, right? And like don't get me wrong, Hudson like it's that incredible numbers, but like just I don't know, man. It both from the analytics, the points, and the eye test, like Celebrini checks all the boxes above, just a level above these guys. I would say like Hudson's like one tier under him, and then it's like Wolf and Michkov, and like we could see Michkov realistically like with a better team and under a better system put up like 100 points next year.
Yeah, not getting benched by Tortorella for whatever reason.
Yeah, being benched for like doing the freaking Michigan in practice.
Yeah. I still don't know where I lean between Hudson and Celebrini, because Celebrini is special. Like he has shit on the Wild all 3 times we played him this year. Like he has been without a doubt San Jose's best player.
Dude, he torched by him. The thing is, like, I know there's some really good players still left with the Sharks, but like, let's be honest, like this year was the Celebrini show, man. Like it really was. And this doesn't come into the equation, but you gotta imagine that's because of how good he was, that like he actually put some butts in seats this year.
Yeah.
For the Sharks, you know, like he alone did that. And again, that's not going to come into the voting process, but like what will is because he was that good that the Sharks were like, okay, well, we're at least going to bring our families here on a Thursday night and face traffic to go to a Sharks game because of him. You know, we're going to lose, but at least we'll see Celebrini put up like 2-3 points.
But I think in the same vein, like, you could look at Lane Hudson's a huge reason why Montreal's in the playoffs right now. Like he's the first 60-point defenseman, I think, as a sub 20-year-old in a very long time. There's been some fair pokes at his defense, but I think over the last couple months that's gotten a lot better. But like, I think like if defense is your argument, like it didn't matter for Bedard last year. I think as someone just pointed out in the chat there, Brian.
Yeah, but Hudson ain't French, dude. He ain't winning shit because he's in Montreal. Yeah. If he was French, 100% the NHL. Oh, we got a French guy winning in Montreal. Let's just go. He's not French. Montreal doesn't matter. The NHL likes Chicago more than Montreal. The NHL does not like their Canadian markets right now, and it has nothing to do with them. It's just our dollar sucks. The NHL's like, screw you guys. You ain't making us as much money.
Yeah. So I think like this will be an interesting one because I think usually you like eventually it feels like the vote pans out at like, 70 or 80% for one guy, even when it feels close. This is a year I could see it being really close, like being a near 50-50 between. I think those two are the top two. And then I think I probably lean Mitchkov ends up as the 3 just because goalies just never seem to get the love, even though Wolf has a fair case there. But I'll
say this, Brett. I usually lean defenseman because I think it's truly is the hardest position to play in hockey. Mm-hmm. But Celebrini, I just think was just that much better this year. Like as far as just like everything. And again, I and it had nothing to do with him being a wild player. I argued my ass off that Faber deserved it last year, and I still to this day truly think he does. Mm-hmm. It's like, and the thing is like. It sucks that Light Hudson was in the same rookie class as Celebrini because he would have won with flying freaking colors in this one. But
yeah. Oh, like I said, I don't disagree. Like I still don't know. Like if I had to vote right now, I don't know who I would vote for. Like it'd be really hard.
All right, let's quickly go over some of the last comments here before we wrap up. Sean asks, is Brodin getting traded this summer? He's one of the only guys with significant salary and no trade protection. He's missed 20-plus games each of the last 3 years. And his no-movement clause expires July 1st, according to Puckpedia.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it really depends on what they think they have in William, but the injuries obviously are a concern, but the Wild, they're not as deep down the left side now, especially if John Merrill goes to waivers and you don't, or not to waivers, but goes free agency. If you lose Declan Chisholm to free agency, like now who's next up? Is it Lambos, right? It's like if you're an injury away from Carson Lambos being in. Are you comfortable with that? Do you have to go out and sign somebody else? And in doing that, are you now further blocking these other players? So I'd lean no. I think if the right offer comes in, sure. Or maybe if it's Brody and out, another defenseman in, maybe that's something that they look at potentially. But I would lean right now, no.
What about Spurgeon? Talk about a guy who's come back from injury and had a very good season with some scares early in the season, right?
I think it's the exact same conversation.
Yeah, same.
I mean, maybe you have a little more faith, maybe because you have Juracek and Bogosian and Faber. Like you feel a little bit better about that 1, 2, 3 down the right side. But again, like what's behind that? It's spot check right now.
Who's just not ready, right? He had a great year this year, great developmental year, but he was like playing ECHL games last year. So like let's be realistic.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I think like. Are they untradeable? No. Is it likely? No.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I lean for both of those guys.
Harvey chiming in on the playoff talk. I could argue with Winnipeg for the Gus's ability to go toe-to-toe and a goalie off, but the Wild would have to play competent defense and put some production up. I think we can pull it off healthy. That's exactly what Brett said too. We haven't really faced them healthy and it's been off back-to-backs. Mm-hmm. Cole saying, what's up, Cole? Thank you so much for being a member. Wild have a fighting chance with whoever they match against with Krill and Ek back in the lineup. That is true. That is true because they've been able to beat really good teams with them out of the lineup. Like I said, a couple weeks ago, that Washington Capitals game, one of the best performances I've seen from the Wild this year. It was amazing.
Yeah, so like we've seen them play really good defense. Like obviously now if Kaprizov and Ek coming back can even bump that power play up 5% and add 1 to 2 goals every couple games to the 5-on-5 offense, like I maintain, I think this team healthy, I think can go toe to toe with all the big players. But the key is if they can stay healthy.
We've seen glimpses of it.
They were the best team in the league through December when they were mostly healthy.
Yeah,
and like it wasn't, and I think we talked about it. Like not a ton of what they were doing. Like it didn't. Like they were getting really, really, really good goaltending from Gustafsson, but it wasn't.
He wasn't just standing on his head. It was a
it wasn't like an unsustainable level. It was like, we've seen Gus play like this before, and he maintained it for a good stretch of the season. A couple hiccups here and there, but it's like I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Wild. Like couldn't they make a run? I don't know. I'd love to, but I don't think it's going to be as I don't think they're going to bow out as easy as I think some people might think they may.
Bro, goalies are going to benefit from this cap going up too, which is good. Like, because even you look at like some of these guys, big goalie contracts a few years ago, $4.55 million. Now, like projected with its projections, it's going to be cool to see some of these freaking gangster ass contracts going towards goalies. Speaking of Sean saying Dustin Wolf is the only reason the Flames have a chance to make the playoffs. Evolving Hockey has them as a top 10 in GSA, and also Money Puck has them at 22nd. Well, I like the evolving Wild boys, the local boys, a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, Celebrini 18. God, he's he's going to be one of the best players in the league, right? When the Crosby and Ovechkins, retire in the next couple of years here, like he's going to be one of the new wave guys. Well, he is already one of the new wave guys. And can you imagine, like, Bedard's going to be in the league, Celebrini, then we're going to have McKenna coming in, like.
If I got to pick to start a franchise with either Celebrini or Bedard today, I think I would take Celebrini.
Based on watching both their first years, 100% Celebrini, 100%. Spurgeon's good in 2 years. 7.5 isn't very attractive for other teams, I think.
Especially with his injury. So
Celebrini took favorite to school a bit last year. He takes everyone to school. That's what's crazy, man.
He's a good player.
His hands are just in his skating. It's insane.
He has the ability to take over shifts, like which I feel like I didn't see a ton from Bedard. And I know this. He has a slightly better supporting cast. Like I think you and I talked a little bit about, or no, it was Z and Hoppy on their show talked about like Tyler Toffoli and just like, oh, that guy doesn't matter who he plays, he scores 30 goals. Like,
yep.
And granted, Bedard didn't have that, but like, I think that's even more of the argument. Is like that's my point. Like Celebrini can take over a shift, and I like Bedard's going to be an awesome player. I'd love to have Connor Bedard.
Oh yeah.
But anyway,
I think Celebrini's more in the generational talk projection than Bedard these days now.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, until McKenna hits pro ice, the book is still unwritten. But like, holy shit, like he might even be better than both.
Yeah, and it might be like a prime Patrick Kane's, like a prime Crosby or someone like that. Like you'd love to have both of them on your team.
Yeah. So. No, for sure. Well, that's going to wrap it up. A fun show, a ton of news in the hockey world. Frozen Four going on right now. Memorial Cup weekend coming up. So Memorial Cup for CHL hockey, which is their huge tournament at the end of the year. So I'm excited for the lower ranks, the junior, the college ranks to wrap up here. RBC Cup coming up for Junior A as well. And then Lord Stanley just in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's the best like 3 months almost of the year. It's great. First round is always electrifying, and can't wait to cover all of it on this channel and on this podcast. I'll be covering a lot of live games on the Sota pod. Obviously Minnesota Wild games in the first round, and by extension other teams as well, and knock on wood the Wild don't get eliminated and win the Stanley Cup, but if and when they do, I'm going to continue to stream and cover like probably Capitals and just some of the other matchups and teams that like we're all collectively interested in.
I'm so excited for 9:30 local time puck drops for home games. It's going to be so cool, so fun.
I grew up on the West Coast, so I can't even complain because I had it good for so many years. So I'm just like, I chose to move out here and watch sports late. And my complaint, Brett, was I was still working by the time they started in Pacific time. I came home and it's like second period of the first games. I'm like, damn it, missed the whole first period. So again, I had it good. Anyways, guys, Brett, what do you got coming up? I saw you posted some player cards. Are those updated and people can go check those out on Twitter? Yes,
I had a little bit of a backlog. I got a bunch of them out earlier this week, and then hopefully should be back now too. It'll probably be, for the most part now, the day after the game. Just my sleep schedule is a lot different now, especially come playoff time if they're playing at 9:30. But I should be back on those. Newsletter is indefinitely discontinued, but if you want to subscribe to it, I might get around to some stuff on it over the summer. But
there you go. I'm just sharing the player cards here in the chat. Guys, as always, you can find us on the SotaPod YouTube channel. A chunk of you guys are watching right now. We appreciate you guys. We post clips every single day, clips of all the podcasts that are under our network. Obviously, Wildly Informed. Spokesy will be back for Judd's Buds here shortly. Actually, Hoppy will be back. Hoppy, upper body injury. He literally lost his voice for like 2 weeks. So I've even filled in for him on Wildly Informed with Joe Smith. I was on the last 2 Wildly Informed episodes. Those are on the channel as well. But yeah, Wildly Informed, MNCAA, a lot of NCAA coverage, even though the Minnesota teams are out of it. The boys are still breaking it down and talking about the tournament. Actually dropped a episode yesterday, if you guys are listening on your podcast app. And then, of course, breakdowns, highlights, and live streams on the channel as well. So support the YouTube channel, and if you guys are watching or listening via your podcast app, we really appreciate you guys listening to us and supporting the show there. I will be live this weekend on my second channel, the City Life Project. You can see the logo on screen here. I'll be covering some Muay Thai. I will be actually at Mystic Lake at LFA 206 tomorrow night. So if anybody here is going to watch the future UFC stars and our boy Alvin Guzzi Hines out of Minnesota, ladies and gentlemen, as well as Steve Asplin, both the boys out of Duluth, the 2 heavyweights on the main card. Both of them are a couple fights away, couple wins away from the UFC, ladies and gentlemen. And goddamn, the UFC needs heavyweights these days. So I will be there all evening supporting the Minnesota boys and watching the local fights. So if anybody listening to this was even thinking about coming and watching the fights, it's basically, Brett, like the AHL of the UFC. They have a direct developmental partnership with them.
Sure.
We'll have about 6 hours worth of fights at Mystic. Main card starting at 8 p.m. I'll be there live for the prelims and amateur fights at 4. So there you go. Oh, okay. It's a Mexican, but it's worth more than more American ones because it actually was out of the 1993 factory that burnt down. So it was I think it was the second run of 4 that they made at the Mexican Fender, the first Mexican Fender factory that burnt down, I think, in 98. So anyways, so it came from the first crop of Mexican ones, which you can't find many with a humbucker on the bottom, which is cool. So the guy who sold it to me thought it was a way cheaper version. So shout out to me. But anyways, enough of those plugs here. Maybe I'll play for you sometime, Trav. Brett, last word goes to you, my friend.
Yeah, I think next time we're on here, it's probably going to be playoff time. So games tomorrow, Saturday, and Tuesday. So if we're back to our regularly scheduled programming, Wednesday next week, we'll be hopefully previewing a playoff series, which is always really fun. So
hell yeah. Well, thanks for the support, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.